The bridge of the exploration ship Baidu was quiet, except for the soft hum of machines. Captain Han Sol Kim sat in his command chair, looking at the stars through the main window. His ship was 3 months into a routine mapping mission at the HFY, edge of known space. Nothing exciting had happened in weeks. Mina Park sat at the communications desk, her fingers moving over the control panel. She was checking for any messages from Earth or other human colonies. The radio waves traveled slowly across the vast emptiness of space, and sometimes messages took months to reach them. "Captain," Mina said suddenly. Her voice was sharp with surprise. "I'm getting something strange." Han Sol turned his chair toward her. "What kind of strange?" "It's a distress signal, but it's very weak. The language is... it sounds like broken. Galactic Standard." Mina pressed buttons on her panel, trying to make the signal clearer. Someone is asking for help. A bridge became more active as other crew members heard this. Tae Hyen Lee, the chief science officer, moved from his station to stand behind Mina. His alien crewmate, a tall insect-like being called Crix, clicked his mandibles nervously. "Play it," Han Sol ordered. The speakers crackled with static. Then a voice came through, high-pitched and scared. The words were hard to understand, but the fear was clear. "Help ... please ... anyone. Our world is dying. The hunger comes. We are Velani ... coordinates. Follow ... please ... we are few left." The message repeated several times, then faded back into static. The bridge was silent for a moment. Everyone looked at Captain Kim, waiting for his decision. "Tae Hyen, can you trace where this came from?" Han Sol asked. The science officer worked at his station for several minutes. His face grew serious as he read the results. "Captain, the signal came from the Zarian system. That's marked as hazardous. Space in all our star charts." Crix made a chittering sound that meant fear in his species. "Hazardous means death, Captain. The gravity fields there crush ships. No one goes to Zarian system." Han Sol stood up and walked to the main display screen. With a few commands, he brought up the star map. The Zarian system showed up as a red dot, surrounded by warning symbols. The database listed extreme gravitational anomalies, unstable stars, and radiation levels that could kill most known species. "What do we know about the Velani?" Han Sol asked. Tae Hyen searched the ship's database. "Very little, Captain. They're a crystalline species. Their bodies are made of living crystal. They're peaceful, never been part of any wars. Their homeworld is ... was ... in the Zarian system." "Was?" Han Sol raised an eyebrow. "The Galactic Council marked their world as lost contact about 6 months ago. No one has heard from them since then." Wisp, a gaseous alien that looked like floating blue mist, drifted closer to the conversation. When Wisp spoke, the voice came from speakers built into the bridge, since the being had no solid mouth. "Captain Kim, surely you do not think of going there. The Zarian system is forbidden for good reasons. Many ships have been lost there." Han Sol looked at the coordinates again. The distress signal was clear, even if it was weak. Someone was alive in that dangerous system, and they needed help. "Mina, how old is this signal?" he asked. She checked her instruments. "Based on the decay rate and distance. About 3 weeks old, Captain." 3 weeks. Han Sol rubbed his chin. They might still be alive. The alien crew members looked at each other with concern. Crix's compound eyes focused on the captain. "Captain Kim, humans are known for being ... unreasonable when it comes to danger. But this is different. The Zarian system kills everything that enters it." "Not everything," Han Sol said quietly. "We're still getting their distress call." Dong Wu Choi, the navigation officer, spoke up from his station. "Captain, I've been looking at the safest route to Zarian. It would take us through 3 different gravity wells and past a neutron star. Our ship might handle it. Double quotes. But what? But no other ship in the galaxy would try it. The gravitational forces would tear apart most vessels. And the radiation. Dong-Wu shook his head. Any non-human crew would be dead before we got halfway there. Young Mi Co, the security chief, walked onto the bridge. She had heard the conversation from the corridor. Captain, are we really talking about flying into Zarian system? I'm considering it, Hansal replied. Young Mi nodded slowly. She was a practical woman who had served with Captain Kim for 5 years. She knew how he thought. The crew needs to vote on this. It's too dangerous for a command decision. Agreed. Hansal pressed the ship-wide communication button. All hands report to the main assembly room in 10 minutes. We have a situation to discuss. The assembly room filled quickly. The Baidu carried a crew of 42 beings from 7 different species. The humans made up about half the crew. The rest were various aliens who had joined human exploration, missions for different reasons. Hansal stood at the front of the room and explained the situation. He played the distress call again and showed the star charts of the Zarian system. When he finished, the room buzzed with quiet conversations. The choice is simple, Hansal said. We can continue our mapping mission and report this distress call to the authorities. They will probably send a rescue mission in several months, if they send one at all. Or we can try to help these people ourselves. An alien crew member raised a tentacle. Captain, the Galactic Council abandoned the Zarian system for good reasons. If we go there, we will probably die. Maybe, Hansal admitted, but maybe not. We have good shields, strong engines, and experienced crew. We might be the only ship in this part of space that could make the trip. Crix clicked his mandibles. Captain, I have served with humans for 3 years. I have learned that humans do things other species call impossible. But this this seems truly impossible. Taehyun stood up. I've been studying the sensor data. The gravitational forces in Zarian would crush most ships. But our hull is designed for extreme conditions. We might survive the trip. Might. Wisp's voice drifted through the speakers. That is not very encouraging. Mina spoke from her seat. I keep thinking about that voice in the distress call. They sounded so scared, so desperate. What if we were in their place? The room fell quiet. Everyone knew Mina was right. The fear in that alien voice had been real and heartbreaking. Young Mei crossed her arms. If we're going to do this, we need to be smart about it. Half the crew should transfer to the escape pods before we enter Zarian space. If the ship is destroyed, at least some of us might survive. No. Hansal's voice was firm. We go together. Or we don't go at all. I won't ask anyone to take a risk I'm not willing to share. The vote was close. 23 crew members voted to attempt the rescue mission. 19 voted to report the distress call and continue their original mission. All the humans voted to go. Most of the aliens voted to stay away. As the meeting ended, Crix approached Captain Kim. Captain, may I ask why humans always choose the dangerous path? Hansal thought for a moment. Because someone is calling for help, and we're the only ones who can answer. The insect-like alien tilted his head. That is exactly what makes humans so frightening to the rest of the galaxy. The Baidu shook violently as it entered the outer edge of the Zarian system. Dong-Wu Choi gripped his navigation controls with white knuckles, fighting to keep the ship on course. The gravitational forces here were unlike anything in normal space. Hull stress at 60%, called out Jae-Sung Kong from the engineering station. His voice was calm, but sweat ran down his face. We're holding together, but barely. Captain Hansal watched the main screen show their path through the dangerous space. Red warning lights flashed across the bridge. The ship's computer kept announcing various system alerts, but the crew had learned to ignore most of them. "How are our alien crew members?" Hansal asked. Young Dashmi checked her security monitor. "The ones with stronger bodies are feeling sick but managing. Crix is in his reinforced quarters, and Wisp had to compress into the protected storage unit. The gravity is too much for them." The ship lurched to one side as they passed near a collapsed star. Dongwu fought with the controls to keep them from being pulled into the deadly gravity well. "Captain, I'm reading something massive ahead. It's not on any of our charts." Tae Hyan worked at his science station, trying to make sense of the readings. "It's huge, Captain. Bigger than most space stations. And it's moving. Moving how? Like it's alive." The main screen changed to show what lay ahead of them. Everyone on the bridge stopped what they were doing and stared. In the distance, wrapped around a beautiful blue-green planet, was something that looked like an enormous creature. It had long tentacles that reached down to the planet's surface, and its body pulsed with dark energy. "What is that thing?" Mina whispered. Tae Hyan ran more scans. "It appears to be some kind of space-dwelling life form. A stellar parasite. It's eating the planet." They could see parts of the planet's surface being pulled up into the creature's body. Whole continents were disappearing into its mouth-like openings. The beautiful world was being slowly consumed. "Are there any life signs on the planet?" Hansal asked. "Yes," Tae Hyan said, his voice excited. "Lots of them. The readings show millions of beings still alive down there, but the numbers are dropping fast." "That must be the Valani homeworld," Young Mi said. "And that thing is the hunger they mentioned in their distress call." The Baekdu moved closer, staying hidden behind one of the system's many asteroids. As they got nearer, they could see the true size of the creature. It was larger than Earth's moon, with tentacles that stretched for thousands of kilometers. "Captain," Dongwu said, "I'm picking up small ships launching from the planet. They look like evacuation vessels." The main screen showed tiny sparkles of light rising from the planet's surface. These were refugee ships, carrying the last survivors of the Valani civilization. But as they watched, some of the ships were caught by the creature's tentacles and pulled back down. "We have to do something," Mina said. "Agreed," Hansal replied. "But what?" "That thing is massive. Our weapons wouldn't even scratch it." Tae Hyan continued scanning the creature. "Captain, I'm detecting some kind of communication from the refugee ships. They're trying to reach us. Put it through." The bridge speakers crackled, and then a voice came through. It was clearer than the first distress call, but still filled with fear. "Unknown ship, please identify yourself. Are you here to help us?" Hansal pressed the communication button. "This is Captain Hansal Kim of the Earth vessel Baekdu. We received your distress call. We're here to help." There was silence for a moment. Then the voice came back, filled with disbelief. "You came? Someone actually came? But but this is the Zarian system. No one comes here. It's too dangerous." "We're here now," Hansal said simply. "What's your situation?" "I am Elder Kristen of the Valani. Our world is dying. The Great Hunger came 6 months ago and began consuming our planet. We've been evacuating our people, but many ships are being destroyed. We have perhaps 50,000 survivors left." "How many ships do you have?" 23 vessels, but they are not built for long space travel. Our fuel is running low, and the hunger keeps attacking us." Hansal looked around the bridge. His human crew members had determined expressions on their faces. They had come this far, and they weren't going to give up now. "Elder Kristen, we're going to help you escape. But we need to coordinate this carefully." "Escape?" The alien voice sounded confused. There is no escape. The hunger feeds on everything. It has consumed dozens of worlds. The Galactic Council declared our system lost because nothing can stop it. Maybe nothing has tried hard enough. Young me muttered that Te Hyan had been studying the creature while they talked. Captain, I'm learning more about this thing. It feeds on planetary matter, but it also seems to be intelligent. It's not just eating randomly. It's targeting the most populated areas first. That's why the Vellani are having trouble evacuating, Hansal realized. It's hunting them. Jizung called from his station. Captain, we're getting some readings. From inside the creature. It has multiple internal chambers, like a complex digestive system. But there are also what look like vital organs deep inside its core. Interesting. Hansal studied the data. What would happen if those organs were damaged? Theoretically, the creature might die, but getting to them would be impossible. The internal environment would kill anything that tried to enter. Young me smiled grimly. Would it kill humans? Jae-soon paused, running calculations. The radiation levels are extreme. The pressure would crush most beings. The temperature is near absolute zero in some areas, and hot enough to melt metal in others. Plus, there are acidic compounds that would dissolve most known materials. That's not what I asked, Young Mi said. Would it kill humans? Jae-soon looked at the data again. Humans in proper protective gear might survive for a short time, maybe long enough to plant explosives. The bridge was quiet as everyone thought about this. The alien crew members would never survive such conditions. But humans came from a world that other species called a death world. They were used to extreme environments. Captain, Te Hyan said, I'm also detecting that the creature has some kind of immune system. When the Vellani ships get too close, it sends out smaller organisms to attack them. As if to prove his point, they watch several dark shapes emerge from the creature's body and chase after a fleeing Vellani ship. The ship barely escaped, but its hull was damaged. We need a plan, Hansal said. Ideas? Dongwu spoke up. We could try to draw the creature's attention away from the refugee ships. Let them escape while it's focused on us. That might work for a few ships, Young Mi said. But 50,000 people? We'd need something bigger. Mina had been listening to the Vellani communications. Captain, Elder Kristen says they have children on those ships. Lots of children. The words hit the human crew like a physical blow. Children were in danger, and they were the only ones who could help. Te Hyan, how long before the creature finishes consuming the planet? Hansal asked. At the current rate, maybe 2 days. And how long would it take the Vellani ships to reach safe space with their damaged engines and low fuel? At least a week. Hansal nodded slowly. So we need to either destroy the creature or find a way to hold it off for a week while the refugees escape. Jisoo looked up from his engineering station. Captain, I might have an idea, but you're not going to like it. Try me. We use our ship as bait. Get the creature to chase us instead of the Vellani. Then we lead it away from the refugee ships. That's suicide. Wisp's voice came from the speakers. The gaseous alien had managed to stay conscious despite the difficult conditions. The creature would destroy us. Maybe, Jae-sung said. But we're faster than those refugee ships, and our hull is stronger. We might be able to stay ahead of it long enough for the Vellani to escape. Young Mi shook her head. That assumes the creature would follow us instead of continuing to eat the planet. What if it ignores us? Then we make sure it doesn't ignore us, Hansal said quietly. We attack it. The bridge fell silent. Even the human crew members looked shocked at this idea. Captain, Te Hyan said carefully, that creature is larger than most space stations. Our weapons would be like throwing pebbles at a mountain. Maybe. But mountains can be moved if you know where to push. Han Sol stood up and walked to the main screen. The creature continued its slow consumption of the Velani homeworld. Somewhere in the refugee ships were 50,000 scared beings, including children, waiting for someone to save them. "We came here to help," he said finally. "So let's help." The war room of the Baidu buzzed with activity as the human crew worked on their impossible plan. Captain Han Sol stood at the center table, surrounded by holographic displays showing the massive creature and the dying planet below. "Show me." "What we know," Han Sol said. Taehyun activated the main display. A three-dimensional image of this stellar parasite appeared, rotating slowly. "We've named it the Devourer. It's approximately 12,000 kilometers long, with a complex internal structure. These tentacles here are not just for feeding, they're also sensory organs." Kyung-ho Lim, the ship's tactical analyst, pointed to different sections of the creature. The external shell is incredibly thick, probably designed to survive in deep space. Our weapons would barely scratch the surface. "What about the inside?" Young Mi asked. "That's more promising." Taehyun highlighted several areas deep within the creature. "These appear to be vital organs, something like a brain here, and what might be its heart or power source here. If we could damage these, the creature would die," Han Sol finished. "But how do we get inside?" Jae Sung pulled up another display. "The creature has several large openings, feeding mouths that lead to internal chambers. But the environment inside is lethal. Acid levels that would dissolve most metals, pressure changes that would crush normal beings, and radiation that would kill most life forms within minutes." Oh Oram Shin, the weapons officer, studied the internal maps. "What if we sent in small attack craft? Something fast and heavily shielded?" "Our fighters aren't designed for those conditions," Kung Ho replied. "Even with modifications, they probably wouldn't last long enough to reach the vital organs." "How long is long enough?" Young Mi asked. Jae Sung ran calculations on his tablet. "To reach the brain center and plant sufficient explosives, maybe 20 minutes inside the creature." 20 minutes. Han Sol rubbed his chin. "Can our fighters survive 20 minutes in there? With heavy modifications and the best pilots. Jae Sung paused. "Maybe, but it would be a one-way trip. The fighters wouldn't have enough power to get back out." The room fell quiet. Everyone understood what this meant. It was a suicide mission. Mina spoke up from her communication station. "Captain, I'm getting more messages from the Velani refugee ships. They're asking what our plan is. Some of their ships are running out of fuel. How long do they have?" "Elder, Kristen says maybe 18 hours before the slowest ships have to land back on the planet." Han Sol looked at the tactical display again. The Devourer continued its slow consumption of the Velani homeworld. Every hour, more of the beautiful planet disappeared into the creature's massive body. "We need volunteers," he said finally. "Pilots, willing to fly into that thing and plant explosives at its vital organs." So Young Nam, the ship's best pilot, stepped forward immediately. "I'll do it, Captain." "So will I," said Chung Min-oh, an explosive specialist who also knew how to fly. "Fighters." "And me," added Yoon-ji-bae, a combat engineer. Soon 6 human crew members had volunteered for the mission. Han Sol felt proud and sad at the same time. Proud because his crew was willing to sacrifice themselves to save strangers. Sad because he might be sending them to their deaths. "What about the Devourer's immune system?" Young Mi asked. Taehyun said it sends out defenders when ships get too close. "I've been studying that," Taehyun replied. He brought up images of the dark shapes they had seen attacking Velani ships. These appear to be some kind of biomechanical organisms. They're fast and aggressive, but not very intelligent. They attack anything that gets near the main body. How many are there? Hundreds, maybe thousands. They live in chambers near the creature's surface. Kyung-ho studied the defensive patterns. If we attack in multiple waves, we might be able to confuse them. Send in some fighters as decoys, while the real attack goes deeper. That means we need more volunteers, Hansol said. You've got them, Young-mi replied simply. While the humans planned their attack, the alien crew members watched with growing amazement and horror. Crix had recovered enough from the gravitational stress to join the discussion. Captain Kim. The insect-like being said, I must ask again, why are humans willing to die for people they have never met? Hansol looked at the Vellani homeworld on the display. Because it's the right thing to do, but you gain nothing from this. The Vellani have no resources to offer Earth. Your government did not order this mission. You are risking everything for no reward. The reward is knowing that 50,000 people get to live, Mina said, including their children. Crix's compound eyes focused on her. That is what frightens the galaxy about humans. You make decisions based on feelings instead of logic. Sometimes feelings are more logical than logic, So Young replied. Wisps. Voice drifted through the speakers. I have served with humans for 2 years. I still do not understand them, but I have learned to trust their strange wisdom. The planning continued for several hours. Jae-sung worked on modifying the fighter craft to survive inside the Devourer. BO-RAM calculated the exact type and amount of explosives needed to damage the vital organs. Kyung-ho planned the attack routes and timing. Captain, Tae-hyun called. Out, I'm detecting some changes in the Devourer's behavior. It's moving faster now, consuming the planet more quickly. Why? I think it knows we're here. The creature is more intelligent than we first thought. It might be trying to finish feeding before we can stop it. Hansol looked at the timeline they had developed. How much longer do we have? At this new rate, maybe 12 hours before the planet is completely consumed. That's not enough time to complete all our modifications. Jae-sung looked up from his work. We can make basic improvements in 6 hours. Not perfect, but better than nothing. Do it. As the crew rushed to prepare, Hansol walked to the communication station. Mina, open a channel to Elder Kristen. The Vellani leader's voice came through clearly. Captain Kim, what is your plan? Our people are growing desperate. We're going to attack the creature directly. Try to kill it. There was a long silence. Then Elder Kristen spoke again, his voice filled with disbelief. Attack it? Captain, that creature has destroyed dozens of worlds. The combined fleets of 3 galactic sectors could not stop it. How can one ship succeed? We have advantages they didn't have. What advantages? Hansol looked around the bridge at his human crew. They were working with focused determination, preparing for a mission that would probably kill them. But none of them had suggested giving up or finding a safer option. We're humans, he said simply. I do not understand. You will. The next 6 hours passed quickly. The engineering teams worked without rest to modify the fighter craft. They installed stronger shields, better life support systems, and more powerful engines. It wasn't enough to guarantee survival, but it gave the pilots a fighting chance. Hai Jin-yoon, the medical officer, prepared special drugs to help the pilots survive the extreme conditions inside the creature. The medications would allow their bodies to function in high radiation and pressure, but only for a limited time. These injections will keep you alive for about 30 minutes, she told the volunteer pilots. After that, your organs will start to fail. 30 minutes is more than we expected, So Young replied. We only need 20 to reach the target. As the final preparations were made, Hansol gathered the attack team in the fighter bay. 6 modified craft sat ready for launch, their hulls gleaming with new armor and shielding. "I won't lie to you," Hansal told the volunteers. "This is probably a one-way mission. The odds of survival are very low." "Captain," Changmin said, "we knew that when we volunteered. The question isn't whether we'll survive. The question is whether we can save those 50,000 Valani. And their children," Yunji added quietly. Hansal nodded. These people amazed him. They were about to fly into certain death to save strangers, and they were calm about it. "The galaxy thinks humans are dangerous," he said. "They're right. We're dangerous to anyone who threatens innocent life." The pilots began climbing into their fighters. So Young paused at her craft's ladder and looked back at the captain. "Sir, when we succeed, and we will succeed, make sure the galaxy remembers this. Make sure they know that humans keep their promises. I will." As the fighter bay prepared for launch, Crix approached Captain Kim. "Captain, I am beginning to understand why the Galactic Council fears humans. Because we're violent? No, because you are willing to do what others cannot. You go into the dark places where angels fear to fly, and you do it for people you have never met." Hansal watched the fighter pilots running their final checks. In a few minutes, they would launch into the belly of a creature that had destroyed worlds. "Someone has to," he replied. The fighter bay doors opened, revealing the vast darkness of space and the enormous creature feeding on the Valani homeworld. So Young Nan gripped her fighter's controls and took a deep breath of recycled air. "All fighters, this is Strike Leader," she said into her radio. "Remember the plan. Team Alpha draws off the defenders. Team Beta goes for the brain. Everyone stays focused." "Copy that, Strike Leader," came the replies from the other 5 pilots. The fighters launched in 2 groups. So Young led Team Alpha, 3 fighters, whose job was to attack the creature's outer defenses and draw attention away from the real mission. Changmin Oh and Yunji Bei formed Team Beta, carrying the explosives that would hopefully kill the massive creature. As soon as the fighters left the Baekdu, the Devourer reacted. Dark shapes poured out of openings along its surface like angry insects from a disturbed nest. The biomechanical defenders were each about the size of a small ship, with sharp appendages and energy weapons. "Here they come," So Young reported. "Alpha Team, engage the defenders. Beta Team, use our distraction to get inside." The space around the creature erupted in weapons fire. So Young's fighter danced between the attacking defenders, her lasers cutting through their organic armor. Her wingmates spread out, drawing more defenders away from the creature's main feeding mouths. "Beta Team, you have a clear path to entry." Point 3. So Young called out, even as she rolled to avoid a defender's energy blast. Chang-Min and Yunji guided their heavily modified fighters toward one of the Devourer's massive feeding mouths. The opening was several kilometers wide, lined with what looked like teeth made of crystallized space dust. "Entering the creature now," Changmin reported. His voice was calm, but everyone could hear the tension underneath. Inside the Devourer, the 2 fighters found themselves in a tunnel that seemed to go on forever. The walls pulsed with bioluminescent light, and streams of digested planetary matter flowed past them like rivers of liquid rock. "The readings are off the charts," Yunji said, checking her instruments. "Radiation levels would kill most species. Instantly. Temperature is jumping between freezing and molten. And the acid concentration... Good thing we're not most species," Changmin replied. The tunnel branched into multiple passages. According to their maps, the creature's brain was deep inside, protected by layers of organic armor and defensive systems. They had to navigate through a maze of digestive chambers and immune system nodes. "Movement ahead," Yunji warned. Something large stirred in the tunnel ahead of them. It looked like a cross between a jellyfish and a machine, with tentacles that sparked with electricity. The creature's internal immune system had detected the intruders. "Immune response activated," Changmin said, going to weapons. The two fighters opened fire on the immune system creature. Their modified weapons cut through its organic hull, but more defenders appeared from side passages. Soon they were fighting a running battle through the Devourer's digestive system. Outside, So Young and her team were having their own problems. The external defenders were faster and more numerous than expected. Her fighter shields were down to 30%, and one of her wingmates had taken serious damage. "Strike leader, this is Baekdu," came Captain Kim's voice over the radio. "How are you holding up?" "We're managing, Captain." "Beta team is inside the creature. No word from them yet." "Understood. Keep those defenders busy." On the Baekdu's bridge, Han Sol watched the battle through the ship's sensors. The human fighters looked like tiny sparks of light dancing around the massive creature. It was hard to believe that 6 small ships were taking on something that had destroyed entire worlds. "Captain," Tae Hyon called out, "I'm reading massive internal activity in the creature. It knows something is wrong." "Is that good or bad?" "I'm not sure. The creature seems to be ... changing. Its internal structure is shifting." Deep inside the Devourer, Changmin and Yunji felt the changes as vibrations through their fighter hulls. The tunnels around them were moving, closing some passages and opening others. "It's trying to trap us," Yunji realized. "The creature is smart enough to change its internal layout. Then we better move fast." "How far to the brain?" Yunji checked their position. 2 kilometers and 17 minutes of flying time. "We've been inside for 8 minutes already. Our life support medications are halfway used up." They pushed their fighters harder, racing through the shifting passages. More immune system creatures appeared, but the pilots blasted through them without slowing down. Time was running out. "There," Changmin pointed ahead. "That has to be it." The tunnel opened into a vast chamber filled with pulsing neural tissue. The creature's brain was larger than most buildings, a complex network of organic computing material that processed information from across the Devourer's massive body. "Beginning bombing run," Yunji announced. The 2 fighters swooped through the brain chamber, releasing their explosive charges at key neural nodes. The bombs were specially designed to disrupt biological systems, and they began detonating as soon as they made contact. The effect was immediate. The entire creature shuddered, and its external attacks on So Young's team became confused and disorganized. The Devourer was in pain, maybe for the first time in its long existence. "Direct hits on the brain," Changmin reported. "But it's not dead yet. We need to hit the power source." According to their maps, the creature's main power organ was another kilometer deeper into its body. But their life support drugs were almost exhausted, and their fighters were taking damage from the acidic atmosphere. "Changmin," ING said quietly, "I don't think we're going to make it back out." "I know, but we can still complete the mission." They guided their damaged fighters deeper into the creature, following passages that led toward what the sensors identified as the power core. The Devourer's immune system threw everything it had at them, but the 2 pilots fought through with the desperation of people who knew they were dying. The power core chamber was even larger than the brain. It contained what looked like a miniature star, held in place by organic field generators. This was what gave the creature the energy to consume entire worlds. "This is it," Changmin said. "Our last chance." They flew their fighters directly at the power source, releasing every remaining explosive they carried. The bombs struck the organic containment field and began their destructive work. "Bombs away," Yunji reported. "Detonation in 30 seconds. Changmin, Yunji, get out of there." So Young's voice crackled over the radio. Negative, strike leader. Our fighters are too damaged, and we're out of life support medication. But the mission is complete. The explosives detonated in a chain reaction that tore through the power core. The miniature star collapsed, sending shockwaves throughout the creature's massive body. The Devourer's tentacles released their grip on the Vellani homeworld and thrashed. Wildly in space outside, So Young watched in amazement as the massive creature began to convulse. All fighters, withdraw to safe distance. The creature is dying. The external defenders stopped their attacks and fled back to their nests inside the Devourer's body. The creature's bioluminescent displays flickered and went dark. It's feeding. Tentacles curled up like dying snakes. Captain, So Young reported, the creature is down. Changmin and EUN-G... They didn't make it out. Hansol closed his eyes for a moment. 2 good people had died to save strangers. It was a price that hurt, but he knew they had chosen it willingly. Understood, strike leader. Return to base. As the surviving fighters docked with the Baekdu, the bridge crew watched the Devourer's death throes. The massive creature was breaking. Apart, its body no longer held together by the power source that had sustained it for who knew how many centuries. Captain, Mina called out, I'm getting messages from the Vellani refugee ships. They're asking what happened. Tell them they're free to go home. The threat is over. Elder Kristen's voice came through the speakers, filled with disbelief. Captain Kim, our sensors show that the Great Hunger is ... dying. How is this possible? 2 very brave humans flew into that creature and destroyed its power source. They gave their lives to save your people. They ... they died for us? For people they never met? Yes. There was a long silence. Then Elder Kristen spoke again, his voice filled with awe and something that might have been fear. Captain, in all our history, we have never encountered a species that would do such a thing. Your people are ... They are unlike anyone in the galaxy. Young Mi looked at the captain. Is that good or bad? Han Sol watched the last pieces of the Devourer drift apart in space. The Vellani homeworld was saved, though it would take years to recover from the damage. 50,000 people would live to see another day because 2 humans had been willing to die for them. I think that depends on whether you're their friend or their enemy, he replied. 3 days after the Devourer's death, the Baekdu sat in orbit around the damaged Vellani homeworld. The surface showed massive scars where the creature had been feeding, but life was slowly returning to the areas that had been spared. Captain, Han Sol stood in the ship's observation deck, watching Vellani repair ships work to restore their cities. The crystalline beings moved like living jewels across their world's surface, rebuilding what had been lost. Captain, Mina called from the communication station. We're receiving a priority transmission from Earth Command. Han Sol walked to the bridge, put it through. The main screen showed Admiral Su Jin Ryu, the stern-faced commander of Earth's deep space forces. Her expression was unreadable as she looked at Han Sol. Captain Kim, I've been reading your mission report. Is it accurate? Yes, Admiral. Every word. You took an exploration vessel into one of the most dangerous systems in known space, engaged a creature the size of a moon, and lost 2 crew members in the process. All to save aliens you had never met. That's correct, Admiral. Admiral Ryu was quiet for a moment. The Galactic Council has been calling Earth Command non-stop for the past day. They want to know what kind of species would do what you did. What did you tell them? I told them they were about to find out. The screen changed to show another transmission. This one was from Galactic Council headquarters, showing a chamber filled with representatives from dozens of alien species. At the center sat Council Prime Zorvan, a tall, thin being with silver skin and large black eyes. Captain Kim of Earth, Zorvan said, The Council requires an explanation for your actions in the Zarian system. Hansal straightened. We responded to a distress call and provided humanitarian aid. I'm not sure what needs explaining. What needs explaining is why humans would risk everything for a species they had never encountered. The Velani offered no payment, no strategic advantage, no resources. Yet you entered a forbidden system and fought a creature that had defeated entire battle fleets, because they asked for help. The council chamber filled with murmurs and clicks and whistles, the sounds of dozens of alien species discussing this answer. Zorvan raised a hand for silence. Captain, do you understand what your actions have revealed to the galaxy? I'm not sure what you mean. You have shown that humans cannot be predicted using normal logic. Other species make decisions based on resources, territory, or survival advantage. But humans... Zorvan paused. Humans make decisions based on what they call the right thing to do. Young Me stepped forward. Is that a problem? It is terrifying, Zorvan replied honestly. If humans will risk everything for strangers, what will they do for their friends? If they will fight impossible battles to save people they have never met, what will they do to enemies who threaten those they care about? The bridge crew looked at each other. They had never thought of their actions as frightening. Council Prime, Hansal said. We're not trying to scare anyone. We just want to help people. That is exactly what makes you so dangerous. Another voice joined the transmission. It was Elder Kristen of the Velani, speaking from his homeworld surface. If I may address the council, the crystalline being said, my people have lived for thousands of years. We have dealt with many species across the galaxy, but we have never encountered anyone like humans. How so? Zorvan asked. They came into our darkest hour when all hope was lost. They risked their lives for us without asking for anything in return. 2 of them died so that our children could live. This is not dangerous behavior. This is what goodness looks like. A council chamber erupted in discussion again. Some voices sounded frightened, others amazed, still others confused. Elder Kristen, Zorvan said, do you understand what precedent this sets? If humans are willing to respond to any distress call, anywhere in the galaxy, it changes everything. Yes, Elder Kristen replied. It means that no one will die alone. In the dark. Back on the Baikdu, Tehayan was monitoring other transmissions from across the galaxy. Captain, word of what we did is spreading fast. I'm picking up communications from dozens of worlds. What are they saying? Mixed reactions. Some species are calling humans the cavalry, beings who show up when all hope is lost. Others are calling us Deathworld lunatics, who can't be reasoned with. Crix approached the captain. Over the past few days, the insect-like being had been very quiet, thinking about what he had witnessed. Captain Kim, Crix said, I have served with humans for 3 years. I thought I understood your species. But what I saw in the Zarian system, I realize I understand nothing. What do you mean? My species makes decisions based on logic and survival. We help our own kind, trade with useful allies, and avoid dangerous enemies. This is how most galactic species operate. Crix's compound eyes focused on Hansal. But humans help people they have never met, in places they have never been, for no reward, except the knowledge that they did the right thing. This is not logical behavior. Maybe logic isn't everything, Mina suggested. That is what frightens the galaxy, Crix replied. A species that ignores logic in favor of emotion cannot be predicted or controlled. Admiral Rue's voice came back over the transmission. Captain Kim, I'm sending you new orders. Earth Command is establishing a new division, Emergency Response. Fleet, you're being promoted to Commodore and given command of the 1st Squadron. What's our mission, Admiral? To go where other ships cannot or will not go. To answer distress calls that everyone else considers hopeless. To be the cavalry when the galaxy needs saving. Han Sol looked around his bridge at the crew that had followed him into impossible danger. These people had risked everything to save strangers, and they would do it again without hesitation. "We accept the mission, Admiral." The transmission from the Galactic Council continued in the background. Zorvin was addressing representatives from across known space. "The human actions in the Zarian system force us to reconsider our understanding of intelligent behavior," the Council Prime said. "They have introduced a new factor into galactic politics, the possibility that someone might actually help you, even if they gain nothing from it." "What does this mean for the future?" asked a voice from the chamber. "It means that no crisis is truly hopeless anymore. If humans exist, there is always the possibility that someone will come to help. This changes everything." Young Mi smiled at the captain. "They make it sound like we're some kind of cosmic police force." "Maybe we are," Han Sol replied. "Someone has to be." 2 weeks later, the Baekdu received its first official emergency response mission. A mining colony on the edge of Sector 7 had gone silent, and all attempts to contact them had failed. The local authorities had written off the colony as lost, but families of the miners were begging for someone to investigate. "It's probably a hopeless situation," Admiral Ru said over the communication link. "The colony is in disputed space, surrounded by hostile forces. Any rescue mission would be extremely dangerous." "Understood, Admiral," Han Sol replied. "When do we leave?" 3 hours later, the Baekdu was in hyperspace, heading toward another impossible mission. The crew worked at their stations with quiet efficiency, preparing for whatever they might find. Wisp drifted over to Captain Kim's chair. "Commodore, may I ask you something?" "Of course. Do you ever regret the path humans have chosen?" "To be the ones who answer when others cannot." Han Sol thought about Chong Min and Onji, who had died in the Devourer's belly to save people they had never met. He thought about the 50,000 Villani who were alive because 2 humans had been willing to sacrifice everything. "No," he said finally, "I don't regret it. Someone has to be willing to go into the dark places. Someone has to answer when people call for help, even if it frightens the galaxy. Especially if it frightens the galaxy. Fear can be useful. It makes people think twice before threatening innocent lives." Crix looked up from his station. "Commodore, I have been thinking about human behavior. I believe I finally understand why you do these things." "Oh? Why?" "Because you believe that every life has value, even lives you have never met. This is not logical, but it is ... beautiful." Young Mi nodded. "That's probably the nicest thing anyone has ever said about humans." The ship's communication system chimed with an incoming message. Mina checked the transmission and smiled. "Commodore, it's from Elder Kristen. The Vellani want to name their rebuilt capital city after Shangmin and Yunji. They're calling it the City of Heroes." Han Sol felt a warm feeling in his chest. 2 good people would be remembered forever by the people they had died to save. "Tell Elder Kristen we're honored," he said. As the Baekdu raced through hyperspace toward their next impossible mission, Han Sol looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there, people were in trouble. Somewhere, someone was calling for help with no hope of rescue, but they were wrong about having no hope. As long as humans existed, as long as ships like the Baekdu flew between the stars, no one would die alone in the dark. The galaxy found that thought both comforting and terrifying. And that was exactly how the humans liked it.